One dark night a stranger came to the sea wanting to court the girl, but she told him her mother would let her marry no one but a good hunter. "Well," said the stranger, "I am a great hunter." So she let him come in. He stayed all night. Just before daybreak he said, "I must go back to my own place, but I have brought some meat for your mother. You will find it outside." Then he went away, and the girl had not seen him. When day came, she went out and found there was a deer, which she brought into the house to her mother, and told her it was a present from her new sweetheart. Her mother was pleased, and they had deer steaks for breakfast. He came again the next night, but again went away before daylight, and this time he left 2 deer outside. The mother was more pleased at this time, but said to her daughter, "I wish your sweetheart would bring us some wood." Now wherever he might be, the stranger knew their thoughts, so when he came the next time he said to the girl, "Tell your mother I have brought wood." And when she looked out in the morning, there were several great trees lying in the front door, roots, branches, and all. The old woman was angry. She said, "He might have brought us some wood that we could use instead of whole trees that we can't split. It litters up the road with brush." The hunter knew what she said, and the next time he came he brought nothing. And when they looked out into the morning, the trees were gone, there was no wood at all, and the old woman had to go get some herself. Almost every night he came to see the girl, and each time he brought a deer or some other game, but still he always left before daylight. At last her mother said to her, "Your husband always leaves before daylight. Why doesn't he wait? I want to see what kind of son-in-law I have." When the girl told this to her husband, he said he could not let the old woman see him, because the sight would frighten her. "She always wants to see you anyhow," said the girl, and she began to cry, until at last he had to consent, but he warned her that her mother must not say he looked frightful. "Uska said to you." The next morning he did not leave so early, but stayed in the sea. When it was daylight, the girl went out and told her mother. The old woman came and looked in, and there she saw a great giant, with long slanting eyes, Tsul Kalu, lying doubled up on the floor with his head against the rafters in the left-hand corner at the back, his toes scraping the roof in the right-hand corner by the door. She gave only one look and ran back into the house, crying, "Uska said to you! Uska said to you!" Tsul Kalu was terribly angry. He untwisted himself and came out of the sea. He said goodbye to the girl, telling her he would never let her mother see him again, but would go back to his own country. Then he went off in the direction of Senegonyi. Soon after he left, the girl had her monthly period. There was a great flow of blood, and the mother threw it all into the river. One night, after the girl had gone to bed in the sea, her husband came again to the door and said to her, "It seems you are alone," and asked where was the child. She said there had been no child. Then he asked where was the blood. She said that her mother had thrown it into the river. She showed him just where the place was, and he went there and found a small worm in the water. He took it up. He carried it back to the sea, and as he walked it took form and began to grow until, when it reached the sea, it was a baby girl. He gave it to his wife and said, "Your mother does not like me and abuses our child, so come, let us go to my home." The girl wanted to be with her husband, so after telling her mother goodbye, she took up the child and they went off together in the direction of Senegonyi. Now the girl had an older brother who lived with his own wife in another settlement, and when he heard that his sister was married, he came to pay a visit to her and told her new husband that he wanted to see him. When he arrived at Canoe, his mother told him his sister had taken her child and gone away with her husband. No one knew where. He was very sorry to see his mother so lonely. So he said he would go after his sister, try to find her and bring her back. It was easy to follow the footprints of the giant. The young man went along the trail until he came to a place where they had rested. There were tracks on the ground where a child had been lying, and other marks as if a baby had been born there. He went along the trail, came to another place where they had rested, and there were tracks of a baby crawling about, and another lying on the ground. He went on and came to a place where they had rested again, and there were tracks of a child walking and another crawling about. He went on until he came where they had rested once more, and there were tracks of one child running and another walking. Still, he followed the trail along the stream into the mountains, came to a place where they had rested again. This time there were footprints of 2 children running all about. The footprints could still be seen in the rock at that place. Twice again he found where they had rested, and then the trail led up the slope of Senegonyi, and he heard the sound of a drum and voices, as if people were dancing inside the mountain. Soon he came to a cave like a doorway in the side of the mountain, but the rock was so steep and smooth that he could not climb to the tip of it. But he could only just look over the edge and see the heads and shoulders of a great many people dancing inside. He saw his sister dancing among them. He called out to her. She turned when she heard his voice, and as soon as the drumming stopped for a while, she came out to find him. She had no trouble climbing down the rock and leading her 2 little children by the hand. She was very glad to meet her brother and talked with him a long while, but did not ask him to come inside. And at last he went away without having seen her husband. Several other times her brother came to the mountain, but always his sister met him outside, and he could never see her husband. After 4 years had passed, she had come one day to her mother's house, and he said he had been hunting in the woods nearby, and they were getting ready to start home the next day. If her mother and brother would come early in the morning, they could see her husband. If they came too late for that, she said, they would find plenty of meat to take home. She went back into the woods, and the mother ran to tell her son. They came to the place early the next morning, but Tsul Kalu and his family were already gone. On the drying poles they found the bodies of freshly killed deer, as the girl had promised. There were so many that they went back and told their friends to come for them. There was enough for the whole settlement. Still, the brother wanted to see her sister, his husband, so he went again to the mountain, and she came out to meet him. He asked to see her husband. This time she told him to come inside with her. They went in through a doorway, and inside he found this great townhouse. They seemed to be alone, but his sister called aloud, "He wants to see you." And from the air came a voice, "You cannot see me until you put on a new dress. Then you can see me." "I am willing," said the young man, speaking to the unseen spirit, and from the air came the voice again, "Go back then. Tell your people that they must go into the townhouse and fast for 7 days, and in all that time they must not come out of the townhouse or raise the war whoop. On the 7th day I shall come with new dresses for all of you, and you may all see me." The young man went back to Canoe and told the people. They all wanted to see Tsul Kalu, who owned all the game in the mountains, so they went to the townhouse and began the fast. They fasted the 1st day and the 2nd, and every day until the 7th. All but one man from another settlement. He slipped out every night into the dark, got something to eat, slipped in again. No one seen him. On the morning of the 7th day, the sun was coming up in the east. They heard a great noise like thunder of rocks rolling down the side of Senegonyi. They were frightened. They drew nearer together in the house. No one whispered. Nearer and louder came the sound until it grew into an awful roar, and everyone trembled and held his breath. All but one man, the stranger from another settlement, who lost his senses from fear, ran out of the townhouse and shouted the war cry. At once the roar stopped, and for some time there was silence. Then they heard it again, but as if it were going farther away, then farther and farther, until at last it died away in the direction of Senegonyi. Then all was still again. The people came out from the townhouse, but there was nothing but silence. They could see nothing except what they had seen 7 days before. Still the brother was not disheartened. He came again to see his sister, and brought him into the mountain. He asked why Tsul Kalu had not brought the new dresses as he had promised, and the voice from the air said, "I came with them, but you did not obey my word, but broke the fast and raised the war cry." The young man answered, "It was not done by our people, but a stranger." If you will come again, we will surely do as you say." But the voice answered, "Now you can never see me." The young man could not say any more. He went back to Canoe and never saw Tsul Kalu.